Good morning, everybody. We want to welcome everybody to today's Great Plains webinar, Income Planning Made Simple with Prosperity Software Solutions. And Great Plains is a leader in the income planning area with our Income Plus income writer comparison tools, the ability of our marketing specialists to help you with case development and finding your clients the best income solutions for guaranteed lifetime objectives. And this is a great area that we're going to be expanding on with additional sales ideas, tools, and support. And to that end, that's why I'm pleased that today we have David Turlington, Director of Sales at Prosperity Software. David has a diverse and successful background in sales and financial software and started his career as an insurance agent, so he can relate to what we're up against every day and dealing with clients and trying to make that next sale. We're excited to have David with us today, and he's going to reveal how using technology effectively can dramatically increase your sales processes and results. And believe me, Prosperity has an outstanding set of tools. We're going to focus today on the income planning tool, and then David's going to try to get to another piece of that before we get off today. Before I turn over to the presentation over to David, I want to remind everybody to please use the question dialog box. If you'll submit your questions to us, we'll pass those to David so we don't interrupt the flow of the presentation. And you know we always try to keep these presentations right on 30 minutes or less. So with that said, David, what are the income planning technologies tools that Prosperity offers to help us close more sales?
Thank you, Rob. Yes, so hopefully everyone's had an opportunity to take a look at some of the tools on their screen as you're waiting to get on the webinar. We at Prosperity feel that if an advisor is able to communicate a concept effectively, the product or product vehicles that they're using in order to accomplish that concept become much less relevant, if not irrelevant, if the client is bought into the overall concept and the advisor himself. What you see on your screen are a list of our concept tools, and obviously, as Rob alluded to, we'll be taking really a focus on the income tool here in a moment. But I wanted to just go through some of these very quickly so you'll have an idea of what kind of tools we have available in our suite. So the first one you see up in your upper left is our Asset Income Maker. And this does go along with income planning because this is bucketing strategies where you can use different products in different buckets in order to create income in different time periods. We also have arbitrage tools where you can leverage annuities and life insurance at the same time. And if you do it correctly, it's really going to provide a great value to the client. And we have two of those tools, one of which is on this sheet, and the lab will really illustrate taking the free withdrawals from an annuity in order to purchase life insurance. We will easily show the true cost of mutual funds, and we have a pre-planning versus post-planning tool. Just below that, the income forecaster, we will show you that live here in a moment. Roth conversions, two Social Security tools. One deals with timing, the other deals with saving taxes on Social Security benefits. Just to the left of that is our Annuity Illustrator. Above it is our Stretch IRA tool. Down in the bottom left, we may get to that today, it's our Pro Forma. It's a one-page engagement summary that really helps wrap up a complex plan and allows you to be able to illustrate that in simple terms. And again, for you security licensed advisors, we have a portfolio performance tool. So without further delay, I am going to go ahead and get into our application. Now this is a web-based application, so you can access it from any computer that has an internet connection. And we have our client list to the left and the tools on the right. What I'm going to do is simply open up a client that we've already entered into the system just to take you through a little bit of the data entry to give you an idea of how that works. So you'll see up at the top, we have our general client information. Below it, the spousal information if appropriate. Down at the bottom, we will input the information that we gather from our client discovery. So in our beneficiaries tab, you'll see that this particular client has 3 children, Beth, Robert, and Dan, and each of those children has at least one grandchild to the client. And we can set their inheritance allocations as you see fit. Now, this information will automatically pull into our Stretch IRA tool, and we'll calculate the RMDs based off of the life expectancy of the beneficiaries. Moving along to our next tab, the asset data entry. Obviously, this is going to be very important. Selecting the type of asset that you're working with is very important because we'll use that information in other of the report, as you'll see in a moment. We also need to know if this asset is a managed account or qualified account, as you'll see in a moment. Incomes. We're really trying to get an income picture for the client both now and into the future. So as I just refreshed that, you'll see that this client is still working. They're still taking W-2 income, and the Social Security and pension income is projected into the future. And we'll get into some more of those details in a moment. Liabilities. Most advisors don't want to be credit counselors, so they're using this area for larger real estate and home type liabilities. Insurances. You can use this as a CRM type application where you're housing your data. When you have several hundred clients, it's going to be hard to keep track of who's got what. So this will tell you, and you can keep track of their policies and maybe more importantly what they don't have. Now that we have data in the system, if you look up in the upper right-hand corner of your data entry screen, you'll see what we call a client summary report. Now what this will do is it will compile all the data that you just entered into the system, and it will present it back to you in the form of a client-ready deliverable, which will, at the beginning, be simply a personal financial statement, including all of the details that you chose to put into the system. So it will show incomes, assets, liabilities, insurances, and we'll also include a couple of nice colorful graphs on incomes, assets, and then the end of the report, I think, is the most important part because we're going to divide the report into several sections, as you see. The first section, safety, really what we're talking about here is market risk. And if you remember when I told you how you entered that data, especially the asset information was very important, this is why. It's because we'll total up all of the assets that you've told the system based off your classification is exposed to the market. And we'll total all those assets up, put it in this paragraph, and talk about it in terms of, is this really how much you want at risk at your age? Now, the answer to that question very well may be yes, but as a holistic advisor, it's your job to put those cards on the table and at least have a discussion about them. Liquidity. Do you have enough cash? Tax-favored paragraph really talks to the power of tax deferral and really the benefits of a stretch IRA or some planning of that sort. Probate. Avoiding the evils of probate. The next three, I think, are very important. We'll have catastrophic illness and nursing home. Really what this is talking about is nursing home and Medicaid spend down. There are countable and non-countable assets that are subject to being spent down in that situation. And based off of your classification of those assets, we'll take the countable ones and we'll put those in the paragraph and talk about that scenario. Good interest crediting. We'll talk about the power of a fixed indexed annuity, the benefit of locking in those annual gains, never going backwards. And then income stream, we'll take a look at their total asset base and calculate how much income, additional income, we can potentially generate for the client based on that asset base. So it's a very specific report geared toward your client's specific data, but it didn't take you very long to generate it, and it's not written in such a way where your client can't understand it. And all you did was push a button because you were entering the data anyway if you had the application. So I'm going to close that down. And now that we have the data in, I'm going to close our data entry screen. And from here, we can run any of these reports. We're just simply highlighting the client we would like to work with on the left, and then the report that we would like to generate for that client on the right. So here we're going to go through the income forecaster. And you'll see when we go into this tool, we're going to have all of the information right in front of us that we need in order to use the tool. So in our middle section here, you'll see the incomes. Now we put in these incomes in the data entry screen that you saw before, but within this, we can apply a scenario that might reflect what's going to happen in their life. So in this particular scenario, I am assuming that they're going to retire in the same year and that W-2 income will stop in year 9. And at that point, their Social Security and pension income will pick up in year 10 and go forth from there. Now, I can easily change these numbers and to apply whatever scenario I'd like to illustrate. Over to the left, we see our assets. The reason our assets are listed here is because depending on what we see in a moment, we may need to generate some income from these assets. This desired income section, when you first go into it, will be blank. But hopefully at some point during your engagement, you will be asking your client, how much income do you need in retirement? It's a pretty important question. Now, let's assume that this client would like to continue their current income, the income they're making in their job, and continue that through the rest of their life. So that's 30 plus 40 is $70,000. Now, we all know that the amount of goods and services $70,000 will buy today in 2016 is not going to be the same amount of goods and services that $70,000 buys 20 years from now. We account for that fact through an inflation rate. Now, everyone has a different idea what inflation should be, so we allow you to dictate it. I'm going to do 2% here. And I'm going to start this desired income scenario in year 10 when we see them in retirement. So, down in our bottom left, you'll see a View Result button. When I click that, it's going to line up the scenario that I have specified here in the middle with their desired scenario in the bottom left. And what it's going to give me is a year-over-year cash flow statement letting me know whether or not the client's going to be in trouble in retirement. So through their working years, they need $70,000. They're making $70,000. We're good. In retirement, they need $70,000. They're making a total of $65,800. So they start off $4,000 in the hole, and that hole gets a little bit bigger every year simply due to inflation. Now, on the surface, a lot of clients might be thinking, hey, you know, I need 70, I'm going to be getting 65, not too much of a difference. I should be okay. But what they're not realizing is the buying power of that amount 20 years from now, 30 years from now, when they might need it the most. So at this point, what a lot of advisors will do is go ahead and generate the report as it sits because they really want to drive home to the client the problem. And it's very difficult to propose a solution if the client doesn't believe and agree that they do indeed have a problem. So if you generate the report as it sits, it's really going to highlight this scenario, red, negative numbers, really create that emotion in them, letting them know that they need further investigation. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go back and we're going to see if there are any assets that we might be able to move over to fill that income gap. So we can simply select any number of assets. I'm just going to select one here. Well, let's select two. Let's select the CD and the XYZ asset. And I'm simply going to drag them over to the income side. So I'm moving assets to create income. Now, I still have my mouse button pressed down right now, but when I release it, a box will pop up allowing me to create a plan from those assets. Now, the WAM is actually our Annuity Illustrator embedded inside of Income Tool. So what I'm going to do is use an annuity for this purpose. I'm going to title it Annuity 1 so I'll know what it is when I see it again. And I'm simply going through and filling out parameters. So when I get down to company, you'll notice that we have some abbreviations for carriers and some of the products already loaded into the tool: American Equity, Allianz, F&G, Great American, Genworth, LSW, National Western. I understand that it's quite possible and more than likely probable that you're not going to be using these carriers much, if at all. So we do have this open category here where as long as you know the parameters of the annuity you're trying to use, you can simply build it and use it for this purpose. Now, in our WAM tool, you can save these templates and so it will show up inside of this income tool at a later time, but we can get to that at another date. Now, If you remember to the scenario we saw before, we needed income in year 10. So I do have Allianz preferred products loaded in here, so I'm going to use an Allianz 222. It seems to be a very good choice in this particular instance. I don't have a dog in the fight of what products you guys use. I'm just simply showing you a scenario. So this allows me to turn income on in year 10. It does give me increasing income to combat inflation. So I am going to use this product. On my next page, I will specify which date in which to turn income on. So I'm going to click year 10 and save it to my profile. Now what you'll see is it adds another line item for income, and it zeroed out the assets that I used over here. Now I'm probably going to have quite a bit of excess income, especially in the earlier years, but let's just see what happens. Now when I click review result again, I'm simply repeating my process to see how this new income stream affected those negative cash flows that we were looking at before. So in all reality, it does look like I've got a little too much excess income here. So what I'm going to do is go back and just remove one of those assets that I had inside of this plan. So I'm going to remove the $105,000. And then I'm just going to do the same thing, turn income on, and save it. Click view result again, and this should give me a little bit better of a picture. I do have a $1,500 deficit right there in year 36, but you can see how easy it is to modify and guess and test a little bit of this and put specific annuities in. You can also add ad hoc annuities, but let me just generate the report and show you what you would see and how you can present this to a client. It will give you a pre-planning graph, but if you wanted the pre-planning ledger, you would have had to generate the report before we moved that asset over. But what you're going to see, and it does take a minute for it to pop up because it does convert to a PDF, and as you can see on your screen now, we have quite a few charts and graphs in the tool. But that's because we're going to help you communicate to the various types of buyers that you're going to come across. The emotional buyer who's going to respond to the charts and graphs, and then the infamous analytical buyer who really needs to see the numbers. And so we're going to provide both to you. Our first page will show the incomes in the scenario that we're outlining here, our new income stream. Now this is our pre-planning graph where you're saying, Mr. and Mrs. Client, this is the income you told me you needed. This is the income you have, and this space in between, is a problem. And then we can jump right to a post-planning graph showing how our solution has filled that income gap that you've just shown them. And then if you've printed off a ledger, a pre-planning ledger, you can show that to them, followed up by this post-planning ledger, which is showing how those red negative numbers and those cash flow deficits have now turned to cash flow surpluses, and you can show them year over year just how much that's expected to be. All right, moving along. We do have another income tool. It's called the Asset Income Maker. This is our bucketing tool. And it's used for income in certain years. So we can do 16 plus years of income with 4 buckets, 11 plus years of income with 3 buckets. We start out with the premium up at the top, and it's going to distribute it down below. Now we have the ability to override those vehicles as well as the rates of return. But let's say we know we needed $3,500 a month out of this first bucket. It's giving us $2,200 a month with $133,000. I'm just going to type in 3,500 here in tab, and it's going to tell me how much I need in that first bucket based off of these parameters that we've specified. The output of this tool, I think, is great because it's simply a one-pager showing what you finally decided on there. Okay. The last tool that I want to show you is our pro forma tool. and it's our one-page engagement summary. I probably would not be presenting a solution without this tool. And what I'm going to do is just show you the end result, and then I'm going to show you how I created it. Now, this is a very exaggerated example here where we're illustrating using all of a client's assets and putting them into a vehicle. And for this purpose, for lifestyle, we're putting these two accounts into a fixed indexed annuity for safety, and these are some of the benefits that's going to provide. We're putting these 3 accounts into an IUL, and these 2 accounts into a growth account. Now, this is just a very easy way to communicate a complex plan in simple terms, because if you think about a typical engagement, many times you've just dumped a ton of information on a client and you're hoping that they're going to make a decision in a relatively short period of time. Now, that's only going to happen if they understand exactly what you're trying to do for them and why. And this tool allows you to easily be able to create this overview document. So I'm going to go in here and show you how we do this. Now, when you go into the tool, you'll see all the assets lined up here to the left and essentially a blank slate on the right. And we're simply creating destination groups of where we're proposing to move those assets. So if I was recreating what we saw before, I'm going to name this lifestyle, and I'm going to select a vehicle, and I'm going to move these into that vehicle. I can create another group. I can name it whatever I like, but again, I'm recreating what you saw before, and then I'm putting these assets into that vehicle. Now, you will note that we do only have 3 options from our drop-down here, FIA, Managed Account, and IUL, but it's okay because the entire report, when it downloads, as you'll see in a moment, is editable. And the only thing that the vehicle from the drop-down will dictate are these bullet points, are these bullet points that you see, pardon me, down at the bottom. So once it comes up, it's an editable Word document, so we're just enabling the editing of this. And again, if we would like to edit those bullet points, we can do anything that we would otherwise be able to do inside of a Word document. We can change the colors, we can change the size and the shape of the bubbles, and you're probably going to want to do a little bit of edit on this just to get it in the way that you want it. But you can see how this is not a revolutionary concept, but I would venture to guess that this one tool has secured more sales than a lot of our other tools that have much more sophisticated functions. Because even if I did not have a tool like this, I would probably be drawing circles and arrows on a sheet of paper simply because I believe it's a great way to communicate a complex plan in simple terms. Okay, well, I think we're about out of time for today, so I am going to go ahead and wrap up and give you an idea of how we priced our tool. We do have a special pricing that we, Great Plains and Prosperity, have agreed upon. The first thing you're going to see here on your screen is our regular pricing. So we price it per user, and for 5 tools, we price that at $69 a month, and for the suite, it's $129 a month. Like I said, it's per user per month. Normally, we have an initial setup fee, one-time setup fee of $99, 10-day money-back guarantee, and training is included. However, because you are a contracted advisor with Plains, we are going to give you a special opportunity here. Normally, we don't just sell one tool. So because of the effort here underway with Great Plains, we are going to give you advisors the opportunity to purchase that one tool, if you like, for $39 a month. In addition to that, because you're a member of Great Plains, we are going to provide the opportunity for you to purchase the entire suite for $99 a month. And we're also going to waive our $99 setup fee. So if you consider that we do have a 10-day money-back guarantee, training is included, you're not really on the hook for a whole lot of risk here because it is just a month-to-month subscription. We're not tying you down to any length of time. And I'll work with you one-on-one to make sure you're using it adequately in your business. You'll see my contact information below. Feel free to contact me with any questions or concerns. And if there's nothing else, I'm going to turn it back over to Rob to see if we have any questions.
We did, but I think you addressed it. I think the question, David, was around the training support issue. And with you just mentioning that you'd be working with any of the advisors and agents that would take advantage of that discount, that training's included at those prices.
That is correct, and it's an unlimited training. Obviously, we have online training videos, but it's really, we want to make the advisors successful. Obviously, if you're using our tools, we want you to be successful using them, so we're going to provide every opportunity for you to do so.
Okay, super. Well, I want to thank everybody for attending today. I want to encourage you to reach out to your Great Plains Annuity Marketing Specialist, or feel free to contact me. As David said, his information is up there if you'd want to call him direct and just let him know you're with Great Plains. We really appreciate you coming on board today, David, and we'd look forward to having you back on and maybe going through some of those other modules in the coming weeks and months. So we'll get that worked out with you.
I look forward to it.
Today's presentation just dovetails so perfectly with our Income Plus Planning Suite and our Income Rider Comparison Worksheet that once you've established what that income gap is, your Great Plains Annuity Marketing Specialist can help you in a matter of minutes highlight and find the best income solutions for you and your client. And this software certainly goes down the road as far as helping you make that presentation to close the sale. So I want to thank everybody for being with us today. Again, reach out to David or feel free to contact us here at Great Plains. And until next time, have a great afternoon. Thank you.